John Pomeroy let me sit on his lap.
Really? What was it like?
Oh,
Well, it was terrific because
show us a doll.
the Danny DeVito and his wife were in front of us, so it was like the best view. Yeah, but
So you could see right over him.
I was sitting behind Danny DeVito at the.
You're still here, Will, sitting on my lap.
Oh, you're right.
Welcome, friends and fans, to another edition of GalaxyCon Live, where we are bringing the convention experience directly to you. And today, we are going back to the Great Valley by way of Ellis Island with 7 members of the cast and creative leadership of An American Tale and A Land Before Time. So without further ado, let's bring them out. First, we will start in America in the early 1900s with our first actor. He is an actor whose amazing body of work includes G.I. Joe, Spider-Man, Voltron, and his book Vocal Recall, A Life in Radio and Voiceovers is available now. Today, he joins us as the voice of Honest John from An American Tale. Please welcome back Neil Ross.
Well, I just want to say it's a pleasure to be here with all of you wonderful show business people.
Neil, how are you?
I'm better than I probably deserve to be honest with you. No, I'm doing just fine considering the circumstances. I got the 2 jabs and I'm ready to go. You know,
Rock and roll indeed.
Kaiser from the Kaiser, baby.
I'm loving it. So, well, Neil, it's always a pleasure to have you. Good to see you in good spirit and in good health.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate it. Happy to be here.
Indeed. And our next guest, she is an actress whose credits include Duckman, Extreme Ghostbusters, and The Tick. Today, she joins us as the voice of Tony. Please welcome Pat Musick.
Hi, guys. How you doing?
Woo.
Yeah. Tony Toponi here. Hey, you know, Philly.
Hey.
I got to call you Philly because Fievel. What's that? You know?
Pat, how are you?
I'm good, thank you. Just coming out of having a broken ankle. So that's resting on a pillow off screen, which is much better than looking at it, for sure.
Okay, well, we're glad that the rest of you is fine here. And I'm a big Tick fan, so thank you for all your contributions on that show.
Wonderful show. Really fun.
Absolutely. And speaking of wonderful, our next guest is a producer and actor whose work in both roles include The Illusionist, Creepy Crawlers, and Hang Time. Today joins us as the voice of Fievel Mousekewitz himself. Please welcome Phillip Glasser.
What's going on, guys? How you doing?
Hey, good, young man. How are you?
I'm doing great. I'm still so amazed to see everybody. It's been such a long time and just so happy to be here. I really am. This is awesome.
Very, very good. Everything is good in your part of the world?
Everything's good. I can't complain. I've been having a fun year considering, but just ready to get back out there.
Aren't we all, my friend? Aren't we all? Well, glad to have you here on our forum. And now let's bridge the film's American Tale to The Land Before Time with our next guest. He is an actor whose credits also include G.I. Joe, Twisted Tale of Felix the Cat, and DuckTales. Today joins us as the voice of Digit, An American Tale, and the voice of our favorite flyer, Petrie, in The Land Before Time. Please welcome back Will Ryan.
Hello, and Neil stole my opening. I was going to do a drunken Irishman, but I guess it's more appropriate for him to do it since he did that in the film. But yes.
Well, you are a drunken Irishman, as I recall, but probably shouldn't have said that.
No. Amius, and I'm going to look up that word when we're done.
Oh, okay. Will, how are you?
I'm fine. My foot is actually quite photographable. And
okay,
I would like to see a close-up of that. Just a funny little cutaway would be kind of nice.
Jealous.
Yes, I'm here representing pocket calculators, and I believe Digit was the original pocket calculator.
Wow. You're not wrong. You're absolutely not wrong. And like I said before, you're wearing your American Tale hat today in solidarity.
Right.
And it fits.
It does. It's a little over large, which is perfect. And 3 of my grandparents came through Ellis Island. So hooray for that.
Oh, very nice, very nice. Now, Phillip, it may not fit you at the beginning, but by the end of the panel, it probably would.
That's what I'm hoping for.
Absolutely. Hey, and our next guest is an actress whose body of work includes Daddy Dearest, Quantum Leap, and of course, Evening Shade. Today, she joins us as the voice of our favorite feisty Triceratops, Cera. Please welcome Candace Hutson.
Yay! Hi!
Hey.
Very drunken Irish woman. That is brat on the planet.
I'm the host. I'm not allowed to drink, but don't ask me. It's just coffee. I promise you coffee. Candace, how are you?
Doing fine. You guys are a tough act to follow, but doing fine. How are y'all?
Glad on our corner. So glad to have you here. One of my father's favorite sitcom while it was on was Evening Shade. So it's absolutely thank you for the reports on that. And what a cast that must have been to look up to.
It's you look back and you know, you kind of think, my God, I had no idea who I like, the kind of talent that I was really working with for 5 years. So worked with Bert a lot too. He loved having me as his daughter. So we worked more time in throughout.
Absolutely. And now we go from the recording booths to the animation tables. Our next guest is a prolific animator, producer, and screenwriter. His body of work includes Pete's Dragon, Atlantis the Lost Empire, and The Simpsons movie. Today he joins us as the directing animator of American Tail, The Land Before Time, and several other Bluth productions. Please welcome John Pomeroy.
Yay.
Hey guys, I'm just finishing up a little drawing here of Phillip Glasser.
Oh, wow.
Hey, good to be here.
Awesome.
Great to be
Awesome.
here.
Oh, John, thank you for joining us today. How are you doing in your part of the world?
Keeping very busy. We're living here. My family and I are living here beautifully in Music City, beautiful Music City, Nashville.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yes, yes. And Phil is one of my next door neighbors. Hey,
didn't realize this.
I just finished my work on Space Jam, so now we can have our cup of coffee at Starbucks.
Awesome. Awesome.
Anyway,
Very nice.
Work is doing very well. Working on Animaniacs over at Warner's.
Ooh.
Just finished
New
up a bunch of
version.
work on Space Jam 2, New Legacy. Keeping busy with work from Disney and all kinds of other projects. So, and also with my partner, Donna Gary, we've got little things brewing on the side with Dragon's Lair.
And speaking of, let's bring out our final guest of honor. He is a producer, director, and animator whose body of work includes Anastasia, Titan AE, and All Dogs Go to Heaven. Today he joins us as the producer of American Tail and The Land Before Time. Please welcome Gary Goldman.
Yay.
Gary, how are you?
I'm fine. I'm fine. Sitting out here in the desert. We live in Arizona.
I've got I've had an opportunity to visit Arizona several times, and I'm quite enamored with it. Being an almost native Floridian, I appreciate the zero humidity.
Yes, that's the one good thing.
I'm walking around all day and nothing's sticking to me. It's a miracle.
I'm in Savannah. This is different climate.
Absolutely. Well, Gary, thank you for joining us, and all of you. Thank you for joining us here on the GalaxyCon virtual stage. As always, we are looking forward to the day when the world gets a little bit back to normal. And I think we see the light at the end of that tunnel. We're not there yet, but we can see it. And when we do, we hope to look forward to the opportunity of hosting you on our physical stages and getting you all back in front of your fans. In the meantime, we have this electronic forum. We are so glad to have you all here today. And as a fan of animation, as a fan of all the acting and the artistry that goes to it, I just want to say thank you all for your contributions to these films. Thank you for your talents. Thank you for your professionalism. And thank you for either your performances or your directions or your artwork. These films are classics. They have touched a lot of people. They continue to touch a lot of people. I remember when I got to introduce my goddaughters, not granddaughters, to both the films, and they were quite taken at that right age. So just thank you for all the smiles you've all collectively made.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Don't mention.
Done and done. I'm just going to throw this question out.
Problem.
Hey.
Punchline.
All right, yeah.
It was our pleasure.
I just want to throw this out, and then we'll go to our audience questions. Just from each of you, what's been the best part about being associated with either American Tail, Land Before Time, or both?
Well, I think you hit it when you said that these films mean so much to so many people, more than, I knew that Pinocchio meant something to me, and I knew I was lucky enough to have tiny little parts in these terrific films, but I wasn't really thinking about the future, and the future kind of came along. I think it was the 20th anniversary of Land Before Time a few years ago, and I'm in Santa Monica, and the Aero Theater, which is the American Cinematheque, was going to be showing it to celebrate an anniversary, a major anniversary. And they asked me, because I frequent the place, if I would come and say something. And the guy who booked me for it said, "Will, I want to warn you, people love this movie. You're going to be surprised because people they won't believe that you're there." And people, and I really was surprised because I hadn't done any autograph things or anything like that before. And I showed up and it was packed, and there were questions after questions after questions. And now I know why Mel Blanc and everybody used to make up answers. I didn't do that, but I said, "Gee, I don't know.
And I think with kids too, little kids, seeing the immigration process up in animation really helps them relate. And then their parents can get into a conversation with them about, where did our forefathers come from, and how did they get here, and what was Ellis Island, and how did it all work when everybody tried to mesh together. So it's a great history lesson as well.
The thing that I recall, and John and Gary could probably weigh in on this better than I do, but feature animation at that period had kind of become a little moribund, if that's even a word.
Yeah.
And American Tail was so successful that it smacked the industry upside the head. And hey, there's an audience for this stuff. Maybe we should, I don't know, guys, make more of it.
Yeah.
And suddenly there was like a whole renaissance of animation, which continues to this day. And I'm convinced that American Tail kind of kicked that off.
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys.
Them, I think, kicked it off artistically, but the studio didn't know what they had on, and they didn't promote it. But this, here they had a couple of producers they couldn't ignore in Mr. Lucas and Mr. Spielberg, and along with Don and John and Gary, and so it got the right kind of treatment in promotion.
Yeah, it was. It was amazing. I mean, I can remember even back then, I started this journey at like 5.5 years old when Don and Gary and John and Steven casted me. And I just remember at the time I was very familiar. I knew what animation was, and they did such a great job explaining to me. But I think, you said it really well, Will. Like before American Tail, animation didn't make that kind of money in the box office. In 1986, I mean, golly, it's the 35th anniversary in November of American Tail. I want to say worldwide it did like almost $80 million, which is absurd. When I think Snow White did like 22 or something like that. It really 100% changed animation as we see it today. And for me, obviously this is how my career started. I was just a kid growing up in Los Angeles, getting into the business. I think I did a couple of lines in a Wells Fargo commercial or something. And I was so blessed to be cast in Fievel. Exactly. And it's, Oh,
come on. You remember those lines, don't you? You remember those lines.
I think I said, "Please, Mom, can I do it again?"
Said, sign up with us and we'll create fake accounts. Wasn't that your line? Something like that.
Exactly. But
it's not too late to think of my future.
Right. Exactly. It just changed everything. It was a different perspective. And, my career started that day and I had no idea what to expect. And, I ended up doing Fievel for almost 10 years. I did the voice for between the movies, the books, the series, the kids' albums we did. It was just such an incredible experience.
It was the gig that kept gigging for you.
I'm still waiting for the Honest John spin-off, but it never happened.
They're still working on it, Neil. They're still working on it. It's 35th
That's what they keep saying.
Is it? John, Gary, from your perspective, Tail and Land Before Time, Did they meet expectations? Did they eclipse expectations? What was it like from your perspective?
I think Neil hit it on the head. I mean, it gave the industry a real slap on the side of the head that it needed. Competition breeds excellence, and there was no competition out there other than maybe Hanna-Barbera. Disney existed for many decades, but there was no one that was challenging them to make their art any better. And so when we came along with Secret of Nim, it didn't do very well at the box office, but the irony is that one of the big fans of the movie was Steven Spielberg. Steven Spielberg approached us and wanted to have a partnership with us and do a couple of animated feature films. And that became the genesis for American Tail. American Tail came out there. It did unbelievable box office numbers. Those kind of numbers had never been seen since maybe the days of Snow White in the late 30s. Mm-hmm. And suddenly it wasn't a catalyst for Disney to find their own animation renaissance. Warner Brothers, Fox, Paramount, everybody in town decided to get involved in it. So It's now, we're reaping the fruits of it right now because there's so much work out there available. Warner Brothers have got, I've worked on 7 projects this year that are all 2D animation, not even digital. Nice. So, it's fabulous, and just keep going. Gary, what do you say?
One of the things was we left Disney because every time we tried to do something, they would knock us back down. Wait a minute, we don't want you doing that because it costs too much money. And in our heads, we're going, nobody's going to worry about the money as far as the audience is. But they're during the 70s, it just was weak, and it didn't have anything where Snow White or Pinocchio and Bambi. It just, that's what we loved. Yeah. So we decided we're going to go out, and we did this. 3 of us. We walked in to the production manager and said, "We're going to leave, and we're going to challenge you. You have to do this because it must be better." And for us, we were so lucky that it came out right, and it was. So many friends of ours in the animation industry, there are always little notes coming in saying, "Thank you so much. You guys did do the right thing, and it's bringing everything back." So it was fun. It's been a fun time, and we've had ups and downs and hard times, and then come riding back again. And so I'm really proud of what we've done and what a lot of other young people that came aboard of us over the last 40 years that have gone in, and directors and producers, and it's pretty amazing. Even when we went to Ireland, we were there for 8 years, training people, and there was no animation in there except for one guy he did commercials. Yeah. And whenever he did features, he would go to UK and do it with those people there. But now in Ireland, there are 15 animation studios.
Wow.
And they're always saying that back to us as well. Thank you.
Hey, Phillip, if we do this again in 5 years for a 40th anniversary, we've got to get Steven here because he needs to know that he was part of this whole plan. The significance of these 2 movies still resonates. So anytime I'm at a convention and I've got boxed artwork out there, original art pieces from the movies, I always have attendees coming in and leafing through all of the artwork, and they begin breaking out in tears. They start crying.
It's true.
Because these 2 movies touch them so deeply. It's almost like an animation ministry. It brings people to a heart place, a connection with their childhood, and they remember these movies, and they will continue to.
It's so true. You hit it best. I remember when we were on tour for the first Kids album that came out after Fievel Goes West. And they had sent me around the country to, sing all the songs and all these different sort of like festivals and whatnot. And
Sure.
I'll never forget, I was in San Diego, and you'd sing the songs and you'd sign the posters and do all that stuff. And this gentleman came up to me, and he couldn't talk for about 5 minutes. He was in his military uniform, and he said that somewhere out there is what got him and his daughter through Operation Desert Storm.
Oh my God.
Wow.
And just couldn't talk. And
Wow.
that changed me forever. And I've now heard stories like that. I've been recently getting into the Comic-Con world over the last year or so. And even at GalaxyCon Richmond, when I was there, I had people come up to me and just tell me how either the somewhere out there or the story, how their family came over. There was a Russian gentleman who came up to me and said, American Tail was his go-to to get through when he was just having a bad day trying to figure it out in America. And I'm just like, wow, like crazy.
Yeah, it's remarkable. It really is.
It really is.
And I think that's also a testament to both films, in that they had the bravery to go dark where the story really needed to. It was not afraid to raise the stakes, not at a climactic level, but it really pushed the envelope to create the image of the kids to know, yeah, it was kind of like that once you got off Ellis Island in New York at that time. It was a harsh carnivore-based environment for the dinosaurs and their food chains and everything else, and yet we had the human element added to that through these characters. So
it was interesting for me to go back and kind of look even recently, and I thought to myself, like, golly, like this really transcended a lot of years. I mean, it's right up there with what everyone's kind of dealing with now. I mean, diversity and how do you unify, and and who the heck doesn't want to do a Spielberg, George Lucas, and Don Bluth production? They were just amazing people, and I looked back on it, more reflectively because of this, but and I thought to myself, like, I have such a greater appreciation for like earlier animations, just everything now is just CG and smoke and mirrors, and I remember seeing just like pages every like millisecond of. I was explaining to people, I'm like, no, you don't understand. Like you see the different looks, like a millisecond. That was an entire. That was a thing, like a whole thing that someone created, and I hated to come off as like, the quintessential queen of you're not with me, I don't belong to you, like diversity, not really, only me. But in hindsight, I mean, it was a little bit of some, a slight bit of foreshadowing. And I think it holds up just as true today, especially with people that have been quarantining for a year. We've gone through hell, in a handbasket. And there's a lot of new fans that are like, they've never seen this before. The difference that, I mean, I remember American Tail, like that was one of my favorite movies.
One of the great things Don did too, you guys did, was to videotape us while we were recording. So our movements were incorporated into the characters.
Yes, thank you. Yes, Pat. Yes.
Unbelievable. I'll never forget that because, Tony has to shoot his cuffs, and he got all of that stuff, right? It was just fabulous. Really good.
Important point, Pat. Thank you for bringing that up because, animators are only as good as their material. So we had the voice and we had video reference that we can use to make the animation come that much more to life. It's very important that the character has and speaks and move with authority, and that means the believability. And one of the things Gary and I and Don were taught when we were being tutored by the great 9 old men at Disney was the willing suspension of disbelief. Does your audience believe that those characters are alive and real? And if you do you care about them?
Right.
Yeah.
Wow.
So
Yeah.
I remember Don Bluth saying, like, you're such a sweet girl. Like, and I was young at the time. I think I was like 8 when the first one, when I did the first one. But both Judith Garcia, who played Ducky, and we were so small for our age, we were just very like short statured. I'm not a big girl now, like I would love God to send me a couple more inches in height, but and we had little tiny voices, and he was, I remember him, saying like, you're just such a sweet girl. Like, I really need you to like come out, like come out and be just the biggest bratty snot, hard to deal with, difficult person. And who knew I would end up that way? I cast you before I even knew it.
I sense a lawsuit.
Yeah, your character and your performance was that sprinkle of salt that made the whole greater project so sweet.
I kept thinking, like, at some point I get to be sweet again, right? Like, I think those were like the 10 minutes that got edited out, because I remember being sweet, like extra sweet at a certain point. But I think that might not have made it quite into the film.
Oh, sure.
More.
The big hug at the end, and when Sarah's reunited with her dad, and there was that. But it's that hug at the end. It's that one, that throat tone, and Pat Hengel's voice trailing off with his brilliant narration. He was an incredibly underrated actor, in my opinion. So just really good stuff. I think we're going to go on our audience questions. So what do you say? Let's switch over to that. And let's start off with, here's one from Brian. What was your favorite scene to work on in your film? And if you worked on both, you may pick one of each or one from both. It's up to you.
Well, my favorite scene was the one that I had with Madeline Kahn.
Oh, God.
Sadly, I never met the lady, and I was a huge fan of hers, but we recorded separately with Dawn reading her lines to me. And I just loved that scene, although I wish to hell we could have done it together. I don't know that it would have been one whit better, but when two actors are in the room together, they kind of feed off each other. It's like a wonderful tennis volley. And it would have been a thrill to meet her and work with her, but sadly that was not to be. But that's hands down my favorite scene.
I just love when Tony and Fievel meet. I mean, when Fievel, who is so lost and so terrified and so frightened, and you're so frightened for him. I mean, the fact that he made it through the water and he gets on shore, I mean, it's mind-blowing. And then he meets the Artful Dodger, right? Basically who Tony is. And Tony kind of adopts him as Philly, his friend, Philly. And then you see it take off. You see it take off. All of a sudden, he's got somebody shepherding him, and he's got a pal in this terrible place that he knows nothing about. Mm-hmm. So that's what I loved. I just love those two characters meeting together for the first time.
That he knows nothing about and he's scared of, but at the beginning he idolized. He was in love, enamored with the myth of America, and that's a beautiful thing about it too, is that he thinks that the dream's gone south, and then at the end, of course, it's all redeemed, and then he goes to the west. So that's another story.
Exactly.
That's true. That's true.
That's good.
For me, I guess, I mean, thanks to Gary and Don and John, you guys really spoiled me, because I think I got to record or at least have interaction with almost every character thanks to you guys in the film. But for me, it's going to still have to go down, and it's still till this day. It's when we recorded Somewhere Out There. And I'll never forget it because you used the very first take when my voice cracked.
Yeah.
You guys are like, that's it. And I was just like, no, let's do it again. Let's do it again. But
oh God,
I had no idea recording that song, and all the songs, are probably for me the most, because I obviously got to spend the entire day with Christopher Plummer when we did when we did Never Say Never, and then the amount of time I spent with Dom through movies and series, just for me is always going to be touched. But somewhere out there, that first song on Pale Moonlight, when my voice goes up in a crack and you guys wouldn't let it go.
It was gold.
Yeah.
It was gold. Do you remember, Phil, working with Jamie Horner?
Yeah, of course. He came to my house.
Here's another cast member that unfortunately can't be with us right now because he passed away from a tragic airplane accident. But the music in the film needs to be mentioned. I mean, it was absolutely gorgeous, and also the score in Land Before Time. But I mean, I animated that sequence. And
he came over. I remember him, Barry Mann, and Cynthia Wilde came over to my house and literally played it on the piano that I grew up on. I remember it.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Beautiful stuff.
Yes.
Beautiful stuff. I got a memory of animating Madeline Kahn and Neil on at the Irish Wake. Honest John barges in, and Madeline Kahn says, "We need to have a wowie." And Neil says, "A wowie?"
Wowie? Wowie.
All the time, Neil's in the animation, the way Don had staged it and got approved by Steven, Madeline Kahn's going on, but Neil's character, Honest John, is preoccupied with a feather that's falling down from Gussie Mouseheimer's hat down to her enormous bosom. And it was wonderful. And Neil, even though you didn't record with Madeline directly one-on-one, it was flawless.
Yeah.
It came out beautiful.
Yeah.
It, as I say, I don't know if it would have been even one whit better if we'd done it together.
It's kind of a crapshoot because sometimes actors work well off of each other, off of a single microphone, and then others work great, and it's up to the editorial and the director's staff to put it together. So, but in this case, it worked beautifully.
Absolutely. Yeah, I remember I didn't notice it as a kid, but when I revisited the film a while ago, I noticed John's one. I was like, oh yeah. Now that I'm an adult,
and then with a feather lands, Patty, she just slaps on John's hand.
Absolutely.
That's magic.
Ah.
Awesome.
Absolutely. Candace, you got one?
Oh, what do you want? What you want?
Oh, just just that favorite moment.
Favorite scene? I just remember. I mean,
all right, stop talking bad stuff about Will. He's back.
Yeah, right. I'm like, where's Will go? Where's Will? Where's Will?
Why are you?
Okay, I'm
He was
happy.
so awful to work with.
Oh, he's the worst. The worst.
That's true.
I ain't lying. No. I mean, I don't know. There's moments in the movie where I'm just like, oh, cringe. Like how could you be such a witch to a poor little guy whose mama just died and basically you caused it. And I just kept feeling like, at some point, this is gonna come back full circle, like I'm gonna be a good person.
Yeah.
And I was, but I think it's not so much the scenes that I remember. It's like the behind the scenes that I remember the most. I am fascinated with the actual animation process, just because we live in an entire digital society at this point, and I would love to see how this goes down these days, but I don't know, there was just so many behind the scenes thing, and just like Phillip said, and
in your defense, you were very young.
All said, why does Steven have to be there always? Seriously, I was just like, "Ooh, wow! I got to be on my A game." But no,
there you go.
They took a little risk on me. I mean, I went in with essentially a Southern accent and a sweet little girl, and Don Bluth and Steven got me to scream. If I told you how many parts I've gotten just to because I could blow out the windows in this joint screaming. And he's like, I know you've got rage. You got rage. I can feel it. And I'm like, so sweet. He's like, not for this. So I just remember like really cute facets and moments of time that, like you never get back. I remember the premiere of The Land Before Time, and out of all my work, it's like the only thing that like went like huge in an actual theater, And at that point, my best friend Ducky wasn't there for the premiere, and I remember sitting. It was almost like God, you say things nowadays and people take it wrong. But I remember sitting in Steven's lap, like during the premiere.
Oh wow.
And watching it, and it was, it was really difficult because it had only been like 4 months, and this was a friend prior to, during, and I can't say after, but I felt like, it was fatherly. George Lucas, I mean, who could argue with that?
Yeah.
Steven Spielberg, I remember there was like an awesome room that was like literally at Amblin Studios, floor to ceiling candy. I remember the first time I played Risk or Trouble or some game, I don't know. And
there you go.
Just the way that, I don't know, the way that they were really kind to me and very kind about, everything that happened. And so I don't remember scenes in movies. I just remember what happens.
You remember the experience
after the scene. I remember how someone made me feel.
There you go. Awesome.
It always made me feel so special. So special.
There you go. Will, were there any scenes that from either films that make you feel special?
Well, I think I'll concur with Candace that it's the memory of working on it that sticks out. Actually, seeing the film a few years ago, I was on the big screen with a terrific audience. I was, I think, even more knocked out than the first time I saw it, because the first time I knew it was going to be great and everything, and it was an event, and there were celebrities all over the place, and that was nice, and so there might have been distractions in a way too, but I got a great seat. John Pomeroy let me sit on his lap.
Really? What was it like?
Oh,
Well, it was terrific because
show us on the doll.
the Dan DeVito and his wife were in front of us, so it was like the best view. Yeah, but
So you could see right over him.
I was sitting behind Danny DeVito at the.
You're still here, Will, sitting on my lap.
Oh, you're right.
There you go. Gary, what was your favorite moment from either film that something that's really resonated with you?
You know what? I want to talk about something else that happened in up in my hometown in Watsonville in San Jose. It was a big article from somebody that was very upset. He's never been to Ireland or anything, but he didn't like Neil's character. And
how dare he?
Yeah, well, there you were with Honest John, and he made this long thing going, and I went, wow. And it was that same year that we moved to Ireland, Still, he needs to go to Ireland because, everybody drinks, you don't even go to each other's homes, because most of their homes are tiny, and they go to the pub.
You got your clubs.
But it was, Neil, you did a great job, by the way. That was a very funny situation. But I got upset with that.
He was upset with the portrayal of the drinking, not the accent. Okay, well, I can live with that.
fascinated. Like, what
Fair.
are you working on? He looks busy. I'm relaxed. Everyone's busy. He's
Listen, living in Ireland, that's what you do, you know,
Yeah.
after hours.
True.
Well, I think
True.
it's probably like in England. I've never been to Ireland, but the whole pub scene it's a different thing. It isn't like going to a bar in America, which is like you're going into a speakeasy, and if a single woman goes in, everybody's, oh, I'm going to hit on her. It's a family thing. They bring kids in, and it's just a place to all get together, and all the villagers. That's the place they go.
Yeah.
And I guess a few people maybe have one or two too many, but it's not. When they're not there to get drunk, you know.
Yeah.
It's more like a socializing kind of deal.
You go in for a pint and a laugh.
It's a place to go.
Team, too.
It's a place to go.
Indeed.
You know,
Good.
I always wanted to ask real quick, you know, John and Gary, and Pat hit it earlier when, you know, the big thing when Fievel called Philly, because, you know, I don't know if you guys remember, but my grandmother used to take me to record all the time. And this is this older, maybe 4'11" tall Jewish woman from the Bronx who has called me Philly since I was born. And I never knew if there was any correlation to it, because, you know, when I heard it the first time, I'm like, and we started recording, I'm like, did my grandma get involved in the show? What's going on? But, you know, we called her my bubby. So my bubby, this little old woman from the Bronx, and she moved in, and everything was Philly, I need you to get me another coffee. And I always thought there was a correlation. I have no idea if it did, but it was just so remarkable and so close to my heart when Pat would say this, and it was just something so special for me personally.
Oh, I love that.
Oh,
Yeah,
that
still
is
alive,
great.
by the way. She's still alive today. Lives in San Diego, California. She's
Wow.
97 years old, 96 years old.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Wow. So
Hey
good.
guys, could you indulge me for a moment? I just found something on Instagram here that I will show you. Let's see.
Paul, blow up John so we can see. Here we go.
I had it here just a moment. It was the a pencil test of if you can see that.
Here we go.
Yes.
Oh,
Oh my
wow.
goodness. Yeah, hold it right there. You're good.
Who is that? Oh,
Wow.
cutest
It's
ever.
birth.
Aw.
Oh, great.
Little foot being born.
Sweet.
Now, if
Very
you get Windsor
neat.
McKay to narrate that, we got something.
You know,
Wow.
what's interesting is anytime I post anything that has animation from American Tail or Land Before Time on Instagram, suddenly the numbers go right through the roof. People just go nuts to watch that. You know,
Very nice.
Wow, it's amazing the power of the pencil to paper or digital stylus to, you know.
I am literally, I
do that.
still am blown away. I'm blown away.
Really?
It was such an art form then. I'm not really sure what it's like today, you know? But I mean, I just remember it being, obviously you had the beep, 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 and then you do your thing that you're supposed to do. But the actual animation was just like mind-boggling. You guys just did
Indeed.
the best job.
Absolutely has. Well, Brian, thank you. That was a fantastic question. And GalaxyCon viewers, this has been my time with the cast and creative elements of The Land Before Time and American Tail. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been absolutely wonderful. Any parting words for our audience before we go backstage?
Thank you. And may this film may both these films just live on forever. Just show them to your kids, have your kids show them to their kids, and they'll just go on and on. Believe me.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
Thank
Thank you for all your support.
Number one takeaway. I agree.
Absolutely. It has been my absolute pleasure to serve you all day. Once again, thank you for joining us on the GalaxyCon virtual stage. Thank you to our audience for joining us today. And thank you all for your great questions. Hope to see you all again soon. Until then, bye-bye, everyone. Take care. And before we go, Neil, Will, give me a yo-jo.
Joe! In a while.
Bye-bye, everyone. Take care. Please keep washing those hands.